Hi, I'm Dr. Jay Varma, and welcome to Thermometer. On this channel, I check the temperature of health in the US and around the world and give you expert insights on infectious diseases and public health. This is our weekly episode of Inside Outbreaks. On these episodes, I review the latest outbreaks of infectious diseases, the outbreaks that you need to know about. And I do this with my friend and colleague, John Epstein, a veterinarian, virologist, and disease ecologist who, like me, has spent his career tracking dangerous infectious diseases across all corners of the earth. Thanks, John, for joining me today.
Thanks, Jay. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing well, actually. It's great. We're both of us are in the New York area, and we're finally blessed with some nice warm weather. So that always
I
makes life
know.
feel bright and sunnier inside.
It's good. Spring is hitting hard. I mean, today it's going to get close to 80. I think, we're getting gradually warmer days. So summer is soon to be here.
Sure, and people like you and me will soon be talking about mosquito-borne diseases and all the other things that come with warm weather,
I,
just to keep people all bright, put a damper on their bright and sunny moods.
I went for a hike this weekend and I had to pull out the bug spray to, spray on my boots and ankles so I didn't get ticks. It reminded me that we're also getting into vector-borne disease season.
Exactly. So today I actually wanted to start off with updates on some outbreaks that you and I have talked about because there was some interesting news from both of them. The first is, of course, measles. As of April 17th, there are now over 800 confirmed measles cases in 24 states in the US. Over 500 of those have been in Texas alone. And in one county, the director of public health, Catherine Wells of Lubbock County, said there have now been multiple cases of measles where a child has had no known exposure to measles, but they did attend daycare and, of course, other places where young children our parents will bring their young children. So basically what that means is measles is spreading through the air and not just within families or within close friends. It's now community transmission. So they're actually recommending that instead of babies getting their first dose of measles at 1 year of life, which is the sort of current national recommendation, that babies actually get their vaccine dose between 6 and 11 months of life. So this is something that I've looked into a fair amount, and it turns out the vaccine is in fact safe and effective if given during that age group. But normally it's something that's only done in outbreak situations around the world.
Well, we're almost in a beginning stage of that, aren't we? When you think about it, we're seeing an increase of cases in the southern United States. It's something we're paying attention to, and you don't want to wait until it's too late to make a recommendation that could possibly save kids' lives.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually really pleased to see. I mean, I think, you and I worry a lot about sort of the backlash against COVID, and a lot of states like Texas and Florida have really pulled back on their advocacy for vaccines and other protection measures. So it's actually heartening to see that a public health official is doing this. The reason the vaccine isn't usually given before 1 year of age kind of has to do with a quirk of our immunology, right?
Yeah, that's right. And what's the issue really? I mean, if you give it too early, you worry that the immunity won't stick, right?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, when babies are born, assuming their mother has immunity either from vaccination or from the virus itself, they'll pass those antibodies on to the baby. And so early in the baby's life, usually in those first, hopefully 6 months of life, usually there's enough antibodies circulating that it'll protect a baby from getting a measles infection. But later on during that period, between 6 months and 11 months of age, they have just enough of an immune system, sort of passive immunity from their mother laying around, that if they get the vaccine doesn't always take. There are certain situations in which the vaccine can provide, a single dose can provide basically lifelong immunity. But what's been found in studies is that babies who are vaccinated between 6 and 11 months, they will get a short-term response. So it will protect them, for the duration of that period. But after they turn 1, they need another 2 doses of vaccine to make sure they get that lifelong immunity. So the big picture here is that if you have a baby that's under the age of 1, it is safe and effective to get the vaccine between 6 and 11 months, but they're still going to need to get 2 doses of vaccine after they turn 1 year old.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's really about understanding a system and adapting, right? I mean, in normal circumstances, and let's remember, we had basically eliminated measles from the United States. And so it wasn't something we worried about, but we needed to stay vigilant and continue to vaccinate so that it didn't come back. Well, here we are now in a period where a slightly bigger part of the population still the vast minority of the population is hesitant about vaccines, but it's enough to allow the door to open for measles to come back in. So now we have to think about how do we maximize or optimize protection for kids so that we don't have that window of vulnerability when they're really young.
Yeah, and this is a question that I get asked a fair amount, and I've seen a lot of newspapers run stories about is like, should I get an extra dose of vaccine? I'm an otherwise healthy adult. And I've generally told people that it's not necessary. But there is a phenomenon of any type of infectious disease. It is not a pure binary. I'm protected and I'm unprotected. I mean, if
Right.
there is a hefty enough dose of this virus that you breathe in or breathe in multiple times because you end up in an area where there's so much, virus being circulated, it's certainly possible that you could get a breakthrough infection simply because the infectious dose was so high. Now,
Yeah.
the good news, of course, is because you have that pre-existing immunity from a safe vaccine, your disease is almost certainly going to be much milder than it would be otherwise. But it's an important question, and I'm glad to see that there's efforts to protect babies, and I'm hoping that we don't need similar efforts in adults as well.
Yeah, well, it's something we need to pay attention to. And remember, we talked a few episodes back about me personally having the phenomena of having my protective titer drop below that protective threshold. Because remember, having antibodies against a disease, whether it's from a natural infection or from a vaccine, it's not a binary, you have them, you don't have them. It's a sliding scale, and they eventually degrade over time. Okay, antibodies have what's called a half-life. And so over time, your titer goes down, and it's a different rate for different immune responses. So we always assume that measles vaccines confer lifelong immunity, but there is a threshold we know about below which having antibodies, even if you have some, if it's not a high enough concentration, it won't be protective. So I fell below that threshold, and I only realized it because I happened to be traveling to a country where I knew measles was endemic. I wanted to make sure that I was protected. I had small kids at home. I think I had a newborn at the time. So I got my titer checked, and that's when I discovered it. So even as an adult, even though I was vaccinated as a child, I did get a booster, and now I have total protection.
Yeah, and so this is the complexity of the immune system, right? And we have not just our what's called our humoral or antibody-based immunity, we have cell-mediated immunity as well too. And it is a complex phenomenon that we don't always 100% understand, but there are some important things we do understand about measles, and that is the vaccine is safe and effective, that 2 doses given to somebody after the age of 1 tends to provide almost complete protection, over 99%. But there are certainly going to be situations, either just bad luck of your immunity or how that vaccine took, whether you have an underlying chronic disease, or being in a place where you're surrounded by a ton of measles, where those estimates on protection may fall a little bit short.
Hmm.
So let's shift a little bit to another topic that is kind of an update on a story that we've talked about before. Last week, we discussed an outbreak of Hantavirus in Mammoth, California. And to bring people up to speed who didn't watch that episode, although I hope this will prompt you to go back and watch it, the county health department for the Mammoth Lakes region reported that there have been 3 deaths this year from Hantavirus. And Hantavirus is a severe infection that is caused by the exposure to droppings of mice and rodents. And so it turns out that, there was that event that was happening in Mammoth that we talked about. But the reason, Hantavirus had sort of, pinged in our heads wasn't just that health alert. It was that because it was also linked to the death of the famous actor Gene Hackman. And so there was some stories this week actually describing a little bit more about what happened there. And so, John, I'm curious to get your take on this. So for people who don't know, the background is that the actor Gene Hackman had severe Alzheimer's disease and was basically living at home, being cared for full time by his wife. And his wife was the one that was, as we know, taking care of him. And we found out later died of hantavirus. And because she wasn't able to care for her husband, eventually Gene Hackman himself died. Well, the news that came out this week is that his wife, Betsy Arakawa, had been searching online for several days about flu and COVID. I guess the New Mexico authorities said they looked at her Google searches, and they were things like, can COVID cause dizziness? Can flu cause nosebleeds? And the next day after she was doing those searches, she, emailed her massage therapist to cancel an appointment, and instead, tested herself for COVID, ordered some oxygen canisters from Amazon, and tried to make an appointment with a concierge medical service. Unfortunately, none of those medications or services helped. She wasn't able to get the attention she needed, and she died eventually of hantavirus infection. And the coroner found inflammation in her lungs. So John, I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on that, because this is a challenging situation, of course, because this is not a disease that would come up first and foremost in somebody's mind. And it looks, unfortunately, like she was struggling and suffering for several days, and of course died because she never got an adequate diagnosis.
I know it is a tough one. I mean, we should give this some perspective. I mean, to be fair, hantavirus is a relatively rare disease compared to COVID or flu. So, having symptoms that are flu-like, you want to think about the most common things first, like flu or COVID. And, many people do their own research online. I think my takeaway from this, though, is that, if she tested herself for COVID, which you can do at home, and that's negative, we don't think we have, commonly available flu tests at home yet, but it's really important to see a doctor if you have symptoms that aren't getting better, aren't responding to treatment. And in her case, I know she did reach out to perhaps a concierge doctor, but if things were getting severe enough, you'd really hope someone would go to a medical center, go to the hospital, get checked out. We don't have the mythical Star Trek tricorder where we can just point it at ourselves and it tells us what's wrong, no matter what it is. We're limited to the tests we have available. And there's more now at home than there used to be, but really still it's at a hospital or referral clinic where they have the best testing capabilities to get a diagnosis. So it's sad and unfortunate what happened. I don't specifically blame her for not knowing or thinking of something unusual, but I would have loved it if she had gone to a hospital or gone to a medical center to get looked at.
Yeah, no, this intersects with a number of issues. So, it turns out, so actually the good news is this past winter season was the first time that FDA approved home testing for flu A and flu B antigen tests as well. So now there is, for the first time in the US, just as of a few months ago, home tests that are just like your COVID test, that are the lateral flow assays that hopefully people have gotten used to using, that can now test for COVID and flu A and flu B. So that's one important thing.
Yeah,
Which is a great advance. And I've always been a big fan of democratizing diagnostics. I just think it's unfortunate that we control and regulate certain diagnostics in that way. So that's one important piece. But the second, and it gets to the point that you just hit on a lot, John, which is this unfortunate situation. And I have to believe that one of the reasons that she probably didn't seek medical care is she felt duty bound to be caring for her husband. Right. And so there was this real phenomenon, especially, as folks like us are getting older and you got elderly parents, where you're really torn, right? You're spending all this time caring for somebody else that you don't actually care for yourself. So in addition to everything you just mentioned about how people need to think about the warning signs of what a severe illness is, I think it's also important for any of you out there who are caregivers to really be thinking about, you also have to care for yourself too.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, especially when you're in the mode of only thinking about someone else that you love, you forget about yourself. But, they only do as well as you do in your ability to take care of them.
Yeah. So the next story that I wanted to touch on was struck me as an interesting one. It's probably not super relevant to all of our audiences, but it is relevant to those of you who travel, and it is certainly an interesting story about the intersection of our world. So the story actually relates to cholera and its connection to holy water in Ethiopia. Okay, so that's the teaser. So there was recently a report in the European version of the MMWR called Euro Surveillance, where health officials in Germany and the United Kingdom reported that 7 people were infected after either visiting or coming into close contact with water from a famous holy well in Ethiopia. That well is called Bermel Georges. It's a sacred spring that is constantly spewing frothy water. People who visit this site are visiting it often for historical or religious reasons, and they tend to collect the water in bottles and then splash it on their faces, maybe while they're there, or bring it home to splash it on loved ones, sort of as a form of blessing. Unfortunately, this water resulted in 6 people being hospitalized, 2 of whom required admission to an ICU in Germany and the UK, because it turns out that water was infected with cholera. So, John, help our audience understand a little bit. What is cholera and why is it something that we worry about?
Yeah, cholera is a pretty ubiquitous, bacteria that can cause severe gastrointestinal disease that can often be fatal, particularly in children and the elderly, because of the severe vomiting and diarrhea it can cause that leads to dehydration. And cholera, it is around any time a source of drinking water gets contaminated with sewage, basically. That's the big risk. We see it a lot globally after intense flooding and intense rain, when sewers back up, when they tend to mix and mingle with drinking water sources. But it is a real problem. And Jay, back to you on this. It's an interesting story. And then I want to tell you, a really important story about cholera's history and how we figured out how to deal with cholera. But
yeah. So, the thing about cholera is that, as John was describing just now, it causes the severe upset of your intestinal system, and it produces a tremendous amount of diarrhea. It's a form of diarrhea that you will know if you have it, because essentially you're spewing out gallons of liters of watery diarrhea, and as a result of that, it's your body's attempt to clear the bacteria and clear the toxins that are produced by the bacteria. Unfortunately, the most common cause of death from cholera is massive dehydration. And so the treatment that was discovered for cholera, and that was discovered in Bangladesh,
yeah, that's what I was going to
very,
bring
very
up.
well,
Yes.
was the discovery of oral rehydration solutions, right?
ORS, a simple, saline and sugar solution, a little powdered packet that could be mixed with water. Literally, it was a life-saving solution. And it was invented at the ICDDRB, which is a large international NGO hospital in Bangladesh that primarily sees cholera patients, and every year deals with thousands of patients when Bangladesh gets inundated from flooding. So it was developed there. It was a massive game changer in terms of allowing people to survive this infection.
And the thing is, everybody who's probably listening to this knows something about this without actually knowing the connection to Bangladesh. Because if you've ever drank Pedialyte, or more commonly, if you've ever drinking Gatorade, the reason you're drinking it is because of the discoveries that were made around oral rehydration solutions. Essentially, the discovery of these sodium glucose transporters in the intestinal system. So the idea that if you just drink water alone, it's not going to actually replace the water. It needs to be mixed with some form of salts and some amount of sugar in it. And this sort of incredible formula was developed, and in Bangladesh, I think in collaboration with some researchers from Johns Hopkins, and it's really transformed the way we manage. And I mean, literally everybody in the world manage people with intestinal infections. So even if you don't have cholera, let's say you have salmonella or E. coli, we recommend that if you're a child or you're an adult, that you drink in something like Pedialyte. And that's basically a sort of gentler, a little bit more palatable form of an oral rehydration solution. And that is one of the reasons that this is such an important and relevant story, is because, first of all, cholera is still an epidemic around the world, and it comes from having, exactly as you mentioned, not having adequate sewage and water maintenance systems. It then spreads into communities, and they can also infect food and contaminate other environments. And so it's important for anybody who travels anywhere around the world. It's also a reminder of why we invest in global health, right? The diseases that we work on in wealthy countries, but work on that only impact, let's say, developing countries, that research comes back to benefit it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And cholera is also linked to a really important climate change situation or message here. With changing climate, we're seeing more intense storms around the world. We're seeing sea surface temperatures increasing. With more intensive storms, we tend to see more flooding. And so oftentimes cholera outbreaks will happen after a major storm comes through an area. And that's something we're likely to see more and more of. So this is a really important disease in terms of global health burden, and we're going to be seeing more outbreaks of it into the future.
Yeah. And so I think some of the practical advice we can give people out there is, if you are traveling somewhere where there is cholera, and as John just mentioned, that may end up being more places than currently are right now. If you're traveling, make sure you're eating in sort of following basic principles. Cook it, peel it, or forget it. That's a very simple rule. Cook your food, peel it, or just don't eat it. Ensure any water that you're drinking has been bottled or boiled, ideally also filtered, and refrain from transporting food and water across borders. So, as in, don't collect holy water from a spring in Ethiopia and bring it back home and share with your loved ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a It's a good story, but to raise awareness about this, it's fortunate that it was as few cases as it was, because cholera outbreaks can be really pervasive and severe, and it's not certainly not pleasant when people get hospitalized with it. So it's a good opportunity to talk about it and a good reminder. And I think in general, when we talk about gastrointestinal disease that leads to severe vomiting and diarrhea, really one of the best things you can do other than treat the underlying disease is hydrate. Make sure you're staying hydrated, so that, because sometimes it's the dehydration that feels the worst. It makes you feel the worst in the course of going through the disease. And then, of course, taking the appropriate medication to treat whatever's causing it.
Yeah. Okay. And on that note, we're going to close this episode of Inside
Oh, great.
Outbreaks. I appreciate all of you paying attention. If you have an interest in public health, we're here every week, bringing you up to speed on the latest news about disease outbreaks here, anywhere else around the world. Please hit the like button.
Wait a
Please
minute,
hit
Jay.
subscribe.
Jay,
Please make sure you give us some information and feedback in the comment section because we'd love to hear from you. Thanks
you're
a lot, Tom.
wait, hang on. You're closing the show, but you missed like an amazing segue. And I was just absolutely busting to do this. We were getting into the holy water story, but I gotta bring this up because we were talking about Mammoth, California, and I was dying to talk about mammoth pox. Do we have a minute?
Oh, okay. Mammoth pox. Okay. No, I'm going to leave that as a teaser. We're going to let people know next week
Right.
about mammoth pox. And so if you're curious what mammoth pox is, let's talk about it next week because it's going to tie into some other interesting news I think that's going on globally around the world and how the world is and is not responding to things. All right. So if you're interested in mammoth pox, we expect to see you next week here.
See you next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sean.